Assalamu alaikum dear students. So we have completed the morphology of leaf. Today we will talk about the flower, that is another part of the stem. So flower is today's topic. Flower. What is flower? Flower is the reproductive part of the plant. It's a reproductive part. Reproductive part of the plant. So it helps in the reproduction. When we talk of the flower, we have the important parts of the flower. So we will draw. This is the stalk of the flower. This is called as pedicel. Actually, this is the stalk of the flower. And on stalk of the flower, we have a swollen part that is called as thalamus or receptacle. This is very important part of the flower. From this part, many other parts are arising. We will discuss them one by one. I will draw a structure of this. The first part, that is like this. This part is called as sepal, or it is called as calyx. The individual part of this calyx is called as sepal, and these are collectively called as calyx. What is the function of the calyx? Calyx helps in the protection of the flowering bud. So its function is protection. When flower is in bud condition, so calyx helps its protection. Then comes the next part. This is another part which arises from the same thalamus, that is called as corolla. So what is the function of the corolla? Its function is attraction of agencies. What are the agencies? Agencies like insects and birds. These help us in the pollination. So its main function is attraction for pollination. So individual part of the corolla is called as petal. That's called as petal. Then comes the next part, which is emerging from this receptacle. That is, it has a filament, and this is called as filament. This is called as anther, and they two are collectively called as androecium. So androecium is the male part. This is male part. These two, corolla and calyx, they are called as non-essential parts of the flower, whereas this androecium, this is the essential part of the flower. Why this is essential part of the flower? It helps in the reproduction. So then next comes, that is called as stigma. It has the ovary, this part which arises from the receptacle is called as ovary, and ovary is connected with a filament that is called as style. This part is called as style, and stigma, the uppermost part, is called as stigma. So these stigma, style and ovary, they are collectively called as gynoecium. Gynoecium. This part is female part of the flower. So these three are collectively called as gynoecium. These are the female parts of the flower. This is also called as pistil. This is also called as pistil. And the male part, androecium, is also called as stamen. Gynoecium and androecium helps in the reproduction of the flower. So these two are essential parts. Essential parts of the flower. So this is the structure of the flower. If all these important parts of the flower are present on the flower, that is called as complete flower. That is called as complete flower. There is one more condition when these two, when sepal and petals are absent, then there is one more condition that is called as perianth. So perianth is actually these sepals and petals, or there is only one whorl present, only one whorl instead of these two sepals and petals, then that condition is called as perianth. It should not be confused. Sometimes some call these two that these are fused sepals and petals. Actually, it's not like that. It is different condition. We call it as perianth when only one whorl is present. So this is all about the flower, the reproductive part of the stem. Actually, it helps in the reproduction of the plant. It arises from a stem. It is condensed modified stem. So flower is condensed modified stem. So how is this? If I draw the diagram of the stem like this, these are actually nodes. From this node arises the sepal. From this node arises the petal. From this node arises the anther. From this, ovary and stigma, like this. When this stem is compressed and it is condensed, when it is in condensed form, it will look like this. So that is why we call this as condensed modified stem. See, here I have shown this individually. When it is in condensed form, we cannot differentiate these different buds in the stem. We can simply see the flower. That means flower is a condensed modified stem. So from these nodes are arising these different parts which we have already discussed, that is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. These parts actually arise from these nodes of the stem. That's why we call this as condensed modified stem. So dear students, we have talked about this very important part of the stem, that is flower. This is a reproductive part. It helps in the reproduction. We will discuss these individual parts one by one in the next lecture, and we will continue with some important terminologies of this flower in the next lecture. Thank you.